Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. It is the 26th of January, 2023. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. And oops, I forgot to get Instagram on. Let me do that real quick. And so thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about what are my immigration options in 2023. And so welcome. And thanks for being here on YouTube and TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Thank you. Okay? So let's go through it. A lot of what I'm focusing on are immigration options for people who are in the United States and who may or may not have immigration status right now. My firm focuses on family-based, humanitarian-based, and deportation defense. We do not currently do business-based options, so I'm not going to discuss those here today, although that might change. All right, that might change in 2022. Just putting that out there. And but thank you for being here. And what I want to do is I want to welcome everyone and say we're going to be talking about what immigration options do I have in 2023. So welcome to the Empowered Immigrant Live. And this is where we train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. So today our theme is what are the immigration options in 2023? And my question for you is, do you want to get a green card this year? Is this year your year? And if so, go for it. All right? And I'd love to help you with that. My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 cases in the next 10 years, and we would love for your case to be one of them. We won, just if you're curious, we won 129 cases last year, all right? And so those are 129 people whose lives have gotten substantially better as a result of winning immigration status. And, I'd love for us to be able to help you in any, if that makes sense for you. Also, here at the Empowered Immigrant Live, we're here to answer your questions. And so we'll do this in English, then later we'll do it in Spanish. We've gotten a few questions already, but if you have a question, send it over. All right? Not a problem. And so that's that. To start our conversation today, I like to start with an empowerment tip. And my tip is really short. It's just don't give up. Okay? I want you to persist. I don't care what it is that you want. Don't give up. Persist. Go for it. It's like if you want immigration status, or if you want a better relationship, or if you want a higher income, or if you want more freedom in your life, whatever it is, make a plan for how to achieve those things. Start on that plan. Inevitably, things won't go perfectly. And when things don't go your way, don't give up. Instead, persist. Go through it. Face the challenges. And in the end, you'll achieve what you're after. Okay? So don't give up. That's my best advice for today. Yesterday was a crazy day for me, and I want to tell you what happened. The day before yesterday, a mother came in, and her husband had been picked up by ICE in the morning. All right? Picked up by ICE that morning while dropping their daughter off at school. Okay? Arrested, picked up by ICE, and sent to a processing center in San Francisco. Now, he had a deportation order against him from the 1990s. And he's been in the United States all these years, since the 1990s. All right? And ICE came and arrested him the day before yesterday. So then the wife came in and hired our office that same day, the day before yesterday, to put together an emergency stay request. ICE, this guy has 6 children. He's been in the U.S. since the 90s. He owns a business. He's contributing to the community. Yes, he has a deportation order. But please, in your discretion, please stay the order and allow him to be in the U.S., also noting that he might be eligible for a U visa that we want to get on file for him. All right? The client's wife hired us that same afternoon. We were working around the clock in the evening to prepare a stay request first thing in the morning. But early in the morning, we get the phone call. Too late. He was deported. He's already in Mexico. Right? It's like, that's horrible. Horrible. All right? Very, very sad situation. And it's like, man, why? Why did they do that? Why did ICE do that? Go to his daughter's school, wait for him there, arrest him there? Like, was all of this necessary? And the guy's eligible for a U visa. Even after the deportation that happened yesterday, he's still eligible to request a U visa. Okay? And so it's like, why'd they do this? I don't know. I don't know if the government is up to something. But if you're in the Bay Area and if you know somebody else that's in a similar situation, I want to know about it. All right? Because stay requests do exist. They are options. But man, we've got to freaking move instantly because, at least from Mexico, they send buses every day, right? Other countries, other parts of the world, it takes them longer to process it because they've got to wait for the next plane that's going to Asia or going to South America or typically like South America flights of deportees, maybe once a week. You got a little bit more time, but Mexico, they go fast. All right? And those are for cases where there's already a deportation order. Got it? That's the issue. The way it works is ICE can just reinstate that prior order, and they don't need to give anybody any time at all. So anyway, here now this family is split, right? And it's a horrible situation. 6 U.S. citizen children. His wife is undocumented, and now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And I hate it, right? I hate it. Deportation. The effect of a deportation is horrific on children, right? And on a relationship, and not to mention on the economy. This guy's a business owner, right? He employs multiple people on his team. So now what are they going to do? Anyway, it's just horrible. Don't get me started. So that was my day yesterday. Sorry to share it if it's a downer, but I want you to, I just want you to know what's going on. All right? So now I'm going to transition, and I want to talk about what are my immigration options. Okay? Like, what's immigration law all about anyway? All right? Really, it's visas, which are travel documents to enter the U.S., green cards, which is permanent residency in the U.S., asylum, which is legal protection from persecution, violence, death threats, things like that in the U.S., removal defense, which is like somebody's facing deportation and in immigration court and has hearings. There are options there. U.S. citizenship, if you already have a green card. And then there's these other things, parole, deferred action, TPS, etc. Okay? So if you think about it that way, right? It's like, okay, what status do you currently have? Maybe you don't have any, or maybe you have one type of status and you want to change it to another type of status. Okay, well, let's look. What other status might you be eligible for? The three big categories of cases that my office handles every day is number one, categories based on being the victim of something. Okay? Like if you've been the victim of a crime where you've been harmed, abused, attacked, assaulted, kidnapped, raped, victim of all kind, whatever the situation might be, if you call the police and make a police report, you could be eligible for a U visa. All right? Or if you didn't call the police, but if the persecutor there, the perpetrator there, is your spouse, right? And if your spouse has legal status, then you don't even have to call the police. You can do it through VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, regardless of whether or not you're male or female. You can use VAWA. So the big first category of options are based on having been a victim at some point in the past. Okay? So if you're an immigrant in the U.S. and if you've ever been the victim of anything in the past, talk to a lawyer about it. Maybe you have a case there. Maybe you have an option there. Got it? Option number two are fear-based options. Okay? Fear-based, seeking protection from something horrific that will happen to you if you were to return to your home country. That's what we're talking about when we talk about asylum. It's what we talk about when we mention the term withholding of removal or relief under the Convention Against Torture. Those are three separate laws, three separate options that exist when someone's life is in danger if they were to go back to their country. Those cases are not easy. They have strict time filing deadlines. So talk to an immigration lawyer if you're afraid for your life to go back to your country. All right? There's a lot of nasty things happening in the world. And so it's a reality. All right? It's a reality of the world we live in 2023. And so, sometimes that's the type of case we've got. Option number three, the big other third final big category that my office helps with are family-based immigration options. Okay? So for example, if you're married to a United States citizen, or if you have a United States citizen child who's turned 21, or if you have some other family member, maybe a sibling or maybe a parent who has immigration status who's filed a petition for you, those things can sometimes work. Now, you have to be admissible in order to use those things. So it's actually sometimes more difficult to do a family-based case, right? You have to be eligible for a waiver, all right, if you have inadmissibility grounds. Many people have inadmissibility grounds and are not eligible for a waiver. And so, we've got to do a large analysis, legal analysis, to see if you can do a family-based case. But my office does hundreds of them, all right? That is a big category of options, and you can talk those through, all right? You can talk those through with an immigration lawyer. You can talk those through certainly with my consultations team. We'd love to help you with that, okay? Category one, for anybody that's been a victim in the United States. Category two is for people who are afraid to go back to their home country. Category three is for family-based cases. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes it might depend, for example, on a family member participating in the U.S. military. All right. Sometimes it might depend on a family member winning their citizenship first. Sometimes it might depend on, a waiver that has to be filed here and then going through the U.S. consulate overseas. There's many different subsets within that giant category, but family-based cases are a big subset of U.S. immigration law. All right, so if you have a family member who could petition for you, you know, spouse, parent, child, sibling, you know, give our office a call. We'd love to help you navigate that. Those are the first three. Number 4 and 5 are more new. All right, there's some new options. It's 2023. You know, 2022 was an active year in terms of creating some new options. There's a new quote unquote parole option. You may have read about it, may have heard about it, where if you're in the U.S., you can request a parole document for people from certain other parts of the world. Right now, those other countries include Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and the Ukraine. All right? Each of these places have different conflicts or humanitarian crises in them, okay? And those places are, again, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and the Ukraine. If you know someone who's in those countries and you want to talk about, hey, could we sponsor them to come to the U.S., that's an option. It's now available, okay? Give us a call. We'd love to help you with it, all right? And lastly, and perhaps similarly, is temporary protected status. The government has created programs for temporary protected status for people from many different countries. I won't go through that whole list right now. But if you're from a country, you know, check on uscis.gov for the full list. Many of the countries I just listed are on there. Venezuela, for example, Ukraine, for example. Both of those countries were added to TPS last year. All right. The other thing about TPS, also DACA holders, there's the option of applying for advanced parole, which is a travel benefit, a travel option for people in that situation. Okay? Those are the big options that I wanted to discuss right here, right now. And in my office, I've got this guide. All right, I've got this guide. This is a guide that I use and that my team uses when we're in consultations. And there are 19 different options that we go through and analyze for when people do consultations with our firm. All right, and so we get much more granular and much more specific, right? When we're actually face to face and going through all of these. Some of the options depend on asking some pretty private details about you, your life, how you entered the U.S., where you entered the U.S., things like that, that we can only get from a consultation face-to-face or through video, okay? So anyway, that's what I wanted to explain today. Thank you for everyone who's here. Again, my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. And now I want to answer your questions. I see some questions coming through. If you have a question, please send it over, all right? And I'll address them. I'll address as many questions as I can in the time we've got, okay? So let's see. My first question came from Rajinder. All right, Rajinder, thank you for asking it. Your question is, okay, I filed my asylum case with the asylum office and I want to request I want to request to get my case moving faster and make an expedited request, okay? So thank you for asking that question. The way it works is asylum cases can take a long time. Our office has multiple asylum cases that were submitted in 2017 that still have no answer. All right, we're coming up on 6 years where it's just pending forever. Okay, and so so that's a problem, and it is possible to request that the asylum office process it in an expedited manner. Those requests are not easy to get approved. Those requests can often just be ignored, okay? And so there's no way to force the U.S. government to interview your case ahead of the thousands of other people with asylum cases pending, but you do have the right to request it. All right? If you request it, the government might say yes, and the government might say no, and the government might simply not say anything, which is their way of saying no. All right? And so that's where it is. And and if you really haven't received a yes or no, there is no harm in following up with your asylum office to say, hey, could we please get a decision on our request for expedited processing? All right? But typically, you've got to show some pretty serious humanitarian problems to request to be moved in front of the thousands of people that are currently in the line waiting for asylum benefits. Okay, so the next question that I see here comes from Abbas. Abbas, you say, please, my wife lives in the United States. We have a business together. I tried to get a business visa to the U.S., but still it's not working. What can I do? So the answer there is, I am not currently, at least, a business immigration expert. So I can't really give you the best advice about your business-based visa. But if your wife gets a green card, then we could sponsor and she could petition you as her spouse. But in the meantime, I would say, hey, let's talk to an immigration lawyer who's an expert in business-based immigration, and we could go through and really explore those options. Okay? Next question comes from Veronica. Veronica, hello. Thank you for asking your question. You say, hello, when someone has a final order of deportation and has a U visa pending at the same time and reports with ICE every year, how many years does ICE wait for you before they actually deport you? I mean, U visas are taking so long. I have to wait 15 years before I get an approval. I'm not sure if the deportation officer will wait another 15 years on my U visa. This is a great question, Veronica. You clearly understand your process and you know what you're doing. So great job. And ICE could wait that long. All right? ICE could wait that long. You have a valid visa application pending. Much of this will depend on the political administration in play. All right? You are not a priority for removal under the current administration, so they will not remove you, or at least based on current policy, they will not remove you. They will not be a problem as long as you have your U visa pending. In fact, you'll probably get a work permit through your U visa relatively soon. You won't have to wait the full 15 years. When I say relatively soon, that's typically after about 4 years of U visa pending. You can get a work permit through that U visa, and then you have a much more stable process here in the U.S. Okay? So it's possible that you can stay in the U.S. the whole time, and I would expect that you can. And if you have a final order of deportation, or if the person you're talking about has a final order of deportation, you might consider filing a motion to reopen that case, so that it's no longer a final order, so that ICE can't deport you. And to talk about that strategy, give my office a call, talk to an immigration lawyer who knows what they're doing. Okay? Good. And you've got a work permit under C-18. Okay, cool. Same thing. Double check your work permit. It's probably A-19 if it's the U visa, probably not. Or it's probably C-14, probably not C-18, but we could verify that, right? Often our U visas, while they're pending, are based on C-14 category, okay? So anyway, very good. So the next question comes from Mary. Mary, you say, hello, my husband was expeditedly removed from the airport. He entered with a tourist visa. My status in the U.S. now is a green card holder based on refugee status. We have I-730 pending, but he was barred for 5 years. Do we need to wait for the bar to pass? Well, so it's easier if you wait for that bar to pass, because then he won't be inadmissible due to the 5-year bar caused by the expedited removal. So that's easier. And if the 5-year issue just happened, then 5 years is a long time. I get that. So you might do the I-730 first, and then you might do an I-601 waiver to waive the, it would be an I-212 waiver to waive the deportation, and then you could apply for him to enter. And so, Veronica, you're right. You have a final order of supervision. You can use that. All right, you can use that. So that's good. I see what you're saying. So it's not through the U visa yet. So once you get it through the U visa, it'll likely be under C-14. Anyway, Veronica, I think you're good. All right, you're doing it right. And so, Mary, my answer to you is, well, my question for you is, when exactly did that expedited removal happen? And there might be a way around it. We could research whether or not the I-730 can basically forgive the expedited removal. That's an interesting one because asylum sometimes can. Okay? Many people that file and win asylum were actually given an expedited removal order at the border, but then were given a credible fear interview and then applied for asylum. And so, anyway, things to know. So if you want to really go deep into that, Mary, I would say let's do a consultation and let's really look at the regulations there, see whether or not an I-730 can waive the expedited removal. And if not, then you'll need an I-601 or an I-212 or potentially even a refugee waiver, which is an I-602 waiver. There's lots of things that might be the best way to navigate the expedited removal order for your husband. And if none of those things work, then wait the 5 years, right? All of the waivers are discretionary, so the Immigration Service can agree or disagree. And if they disagree, then the best advice is to not have him try to re-enter unlawfully, because that would lead to a permanent bar, and instead either file for the waivers and do it the right way, or wait the time. Okay? All right, the next question here comes from Peter. We're doing great. I do need to stop pretty soon and start this in Spanish, but I really appreciate everybody's questions. This is great. So, Peter, you say, can my nephew sponsor me? Well, question number one for you, Peter. Thank you for asking it. Question number one is, are you a national of Haiti, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, or Ukraine? Because if so, then if your nephew has any immigration status or is a U.S. citizen, then yes, he can sponsor you to enter on parole. But if your nephew just wants to sponsor you the normal way, it's not possible. All right? The way to do it is a nephew who's the child of your brother or sister needs to first petition for your brother or sister, who's his or her parent, his mother or father, and then that person needs to petition for you. Those cases take years and years and years. So a nephew to uncle directly does not work for a classic green card petition. Again, unless you happen to be a national of Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Ukraine, or Haiti, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, Ukraine. Yeah, those 5 countries. Okay? Good? All right, my next question comes from CE User. Great to see you. All right, you say, what is the best time to submit an I-693 for a parent of a U.S. citizen adjusting status, and where do we send it? Do we have to wait for the RFE if we didn't send it when the I-485 was submitted? So often what they'll do, normally you can send it when the I-485 is submitted. The I-693, for those who aren't aware, is just the medical exam. All right, you've got to get a medical exam signed in a signed sealed envelope by a civil surgeon saying you've got all your vaccines and everything else, okay? And that you don't have marijuana or or any controlled substance in your blood. And they ask a lot of other questions in the medical exam. All right. So normally, if you didn't submit it with the I-485, which is fine, you'll eventually get scheduled for an interview, and you can take the medical exam with you to your interview, and there you go. Often they don't issue an RFE for it. They often will send a notice of deficiency, is what they call it, and just basically say, hey, get it done at the time of your interview. The medical exam is only valid for 60 days. So don't get it done too early. Get it done at the time that you're going to have your interview, like the week before, because otherwise, you'll be RFE'd again, and you'll have to get it again. Okay. Last question for today comes from El Hadrami. El Hadrami, thank you. You say, is there a risk of losing permanent resident status if the former refugee returns to the country of origin? The answer to your question is yes. Okay? Is there a risk of losing your green card if you got your green card through refugee status or through asylum, and if you go back to your country? The answer is yes. I've seen it, all right? We've fought those cases. That's a very risky thing to do. Bottom line is, if you won refugee status or asylum, you're saying that your life is in danger if you go back to your country, all right? And so if now you've won your green card and now you're going back to that country, immigration can be like, yo, wait a second. Were you lying on your asylum case? Like, why are you going back to your country now? The best advice is to wait until you become a U.S. citizen first. Become a U.S. citizen first, and then typically you can travel wherever you want to. But the best advice is to not go back to your country as a permanent resident when you got your residence through refugee status or through asylum. I hope that's helpful. Hey, you guys have been awesome today. Thank you all so much for being here. Veronica, Mary, Peter, CE User, El Hadrami, Veronica, Mary. Thank you for the conversation. Everybody here on Instagram, thanks for joining me. Max Alchemy, hello. Luis Acadapolo, Mary ELC, Naire, I didn't say that, I didn't pronounce that right, Nayare, Great Davila, Fred in America, hello. Yika, hello. Good to see you all in Instagram. Everybody on TikTok, hello. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Man, I love you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. If this video was useful, helpful, whatever, please give us a thumbs up or a heart or whatever it is on whatever platform, wherever you are. Like, tell the internet that it was useful content. I'd really appreciate it. That means a lot to me, okay? And, if you have an immigration case that my office can help with, give us a call. We are here to help. The initial evaluation with my team is absolutely free. The consultation is paid, but it's a very reasonable fee, all right? We want to help you. All right, and so if we can help you in any way, please reach out. We'd love to help you. Again, I'm Otis Landerholm. I really appreciate your being here, and I'll see you next week on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.